That's fine. That, because you don't want audio coming out and repeating that again.
It takes 20 seconds.
Yes and no.
I have no. Have you met me?
Yes, it's life. Think. Refresh. I just heard you say, you met me. I'll cut that out.
mouth and then she's got it split and she's like,
No, but that's what I want.
it was, she got it. It was on
There.
TikTok.
Good with that?
That's funny.
How do I download
All right.
SeeSaw?
So we're going to go ahead and get started, and on your computers, you're going to use this last one, which is just a website, and you can go to app.seesaw.com. I think if you go to seesaw.com and then hit login, it takes you right to that. But if you do choose to use it like on a phone or on a tablet, you can get the app from the web stores or that device's web store. So go ahead and go to app.seesaw.com.
Mine says it's not available.
APP.
app.seesaw.com. That's what I get.
SeeSaw dot.
It could not be reached.
Word.
See, this is why we came in person.
That's right.
We get support.
Well, then I can ask him stupid questions live.
All right, so I will. It's probably a redirect that's blocking our filter. I'll fix it, but for right now, just go to seesaw.com, and then go up in the top right corner, go to login, and then it will take you to the login
I'm a
page.
teacher.
How come your class don't pop up, you guys?
I'm wearing them like on the tip of my nose, so that the air doesn't, and it's annoying. Like it's hard. So that's why I look up like this a lot, and then
You gotta wear them like, when you're like,
What are you looking at, sweetie?
I say I feel kind of like a granny.
So I'm sorry, do we say we're a teacher?
Yeah, you can. We're going to go through a few videos first, and actually I think the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have you log in as a student. But so you can just be at that screen and then hang on tight for that. So we're going to go through SeeSaw. Basically, we're going to do an intro, the tools that are built in. I'm going to let you explore it as a student, and then we're going to go through some ideas and questions and next steps. So I'm going to try to shoot for an hour, and then if you have questions after that, we can stay and answer them. But what?
streaming?
I don't know. Should be streaming. It's a delay, and if you paused it, then it's going to be back behind where it was. Sorry. Got to test our stream to make sure it's working right here. Yeah, it's working. I can hear myself. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just play the short intro video. You may have already watched it if you went through some of the stuff in the class, but if not, I'll just show it. Oops.
There's her flyer. So we have to, want to post on Facebook and a flyer.
So it needs to be on TV.
Which I can do, but do what I'm thinking. Do the mirror left.
I love when that light bulb, that aha moment happens. When they've been working really hard and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off and that click of, oh, I get it now.
I'm looking for new ways to engage my students every single day. SeeSaw, hands down, is the best thing that has ever happened to any of my third grade classrooms. Whether it's math, writing, social studies, in art class, in music class, it works for everything. There's so many different ways that a student can create.
They can take pictures, they can do drawing, they can record, and then have to go a step further and explain their thinking in a way that really cements the learning.
SeeSaw helps me because it gives me that immediate feedback of how the kids are doing. It helps me find those misconceptions in their lesson and then the following day to reteach those concepts that were missed.
The SeeSaw Activity Library is a go-to almost every single day. I love that I can get so many different ideas for activities that I could use right there in one spot. Students love SeeSaw. They get very proud of their portfolio and they like to share it with other people.
I saw that. I was at work at a meeting and my little notification popped up. I use the SeeSaw Family app both at home and at work. It really helps me give an insight of what Ava is doing, not only in class, but also the way that she's thinking and her process, and I think that's priceless.
I love how SeeSaw really allows me to get to know my students on a deeper level. They don't always want to stand up or raise their hand to talk in class, but I feel like SeeSaw really allows them to open up and shine.
So, like I said, you may have seen that before, but there you go. You may have seen that before, but I wanted to show it again because it highlights a lot of different things we're going to go through. One is the word portfolio. Another one is family, SeeSaw Family app. And then the ability for parents and families to be able to view what their students are doing and help them, especially if they're at home. So SeeSaw originally was built to be a classroom app. So when your students are with you in the school, to be there, to be able to do work on SeeSaw and really post it as a portfolio of work, a digital portfolio. However, SeeSaw has continued to change with the times, and then on top of that, when COVID hit, has made some adaptations for at-home learning. So it can be used for both. So right now we're using it, or the reason we kind of pushed into it was because of the potential for at-home learning. So you'll be able to use it for that, but I want to encourage you, it can be used when your students are in the class with you too, because that was their original point. So the main one is the student portfolios. That's really what they started with. And so if you think of SeeSaw as an ability or a tool to connect with kids while they're at home or while they're away, you can use it that way, but really it's a warehouse for that student's data, that student's work. So you can build a student portfolio as you go along throughout the year. The other thing is formative insights and family communication, as I talked about earlier. So in SeeSaw, what we're going to go through today is you're going to be able to see a variety of ways that they will explore some different tools. And so on your laptops, the reason I had you go to that site is because you're going to first experience it as a student. If you have already, again, this is just a basic training, so we're going through a lot of the stuff that was in the Google Classroom with some hands-on help. So we're going to go through some of those tools just to see what they were like. The other thing is I'll show you where the SeeSaw library is, which is content that has been created by people all around the world and content that you can pull into your classroom without having to recreate a lesson. The other thing, which we'll go into, I don't think I've got a slide on it, but this middle option here in the library is a school library. You have the option to share activities within your school. So if you create an activity, you can push it out to your school library so other teachers within the school can use it, but it is not available in the SeeSaw Worldwide Library. So if you do have classes, especially at some grade levels that are going to try to work as a team because of the virtual and potentially trying to share some resources there, that would be a great area to put some of that stuff. We talked about that already. So really quick, I'm just going to play, again, some of these were the videos. There's one video here and there's another video. We're just going to do this first one. Jason, if you can click on that link at the bottom there. And then you'll have to unmute the desktop audio again for the virtual or for the people that are streaming it.
This is how I make 7. 4 plus 3
Yeah, this one
equals
was
7.
maybe play the other
6
one.
plus 1 equals 7. 5 plus 3 equals 7. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right click on the bottom. So alpha there, that's why. Look at that. And choose. All right, go ahead and play this video. That's your value.
You know what I mean? Because, yeah, those before this one.
All right, this should be louder here.
This is how I make 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 6 plus 1 equals 7. 5 plus 3
Wow,
equals
that-
7. Wait, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, go ahead. Back around that. Let me go back to the slides. Let's go to the other video. Oops. Go to that one. This one's, I know this one's much louder, so.
Right.
This is the circuit I built. The parts of my circuit are the switch,
So what they've done, what this student has done is taken a picture. This is just a still
when I
image.
first put my circuit
And then they overlaid
together, it was not working.
titles or labels,
The
as
problem
well
was
as use that
up
arrow.
here,
Now
I
they're using the
realized
drawing
that
tool.
the
That's this
positive
whole time
and
recording your
negative
voice, obviously.
charges were in the opposite place. So I had to flip this piece around, and when I did that, it created a circuit that worked. It let the battery flow through to the fan. My next step is to make it lift off from the ground.
Okay, you can go ahead and put the next the slideshow.
This is the circuit.
So in that, you hear the student reflect, applying vocabulary, problem solve, and plan next steps. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and I know some of us are worried, especially with limited time, potentially students at home. How are you going to do one-on-ones with those students? Unfortunately, you won't have that necessarily that two-way where you're actually sitting and talking to the student, but simple activities like that where you can hear them explain their thought process will give you cues and insights into what they're thinking, so that you can either, if it's a larger problem, do a re-instruction, or at least just do interventions with that one or group of students. So that's really where SeeSaw's power comes in, as the power of the individual student. Is when they're turning in work, you're able to see individually what each student is thinking, without having to necessarily just do a worksheet or something like that. There's a lot of different options. You can do it with shared devices, so if you are in the classroom and you want students to do that, the iPads that you have at South School will have SeeSaw on them. You can have them log in or go to SeeSaw through there. You can do this in the computer lab if they don't need a microphone. That's the biggest thing in the computer lab we don't have, is a microphone option. But if they need to draw or do pictures, they can do all that on a computer. And then, of course, virtually for students that are at home. As a student, as a teacher, which you're going to see a little bit of this, you're going to see all your students on the right-hand side, and then when you click on a student, you're going to see that student's stream or that student's portfolio of work. They call it a journal. And then you can, in here, you can post different activities, go to your inbox, which is where the messaging feature is for parents or students to be able to communicate with them. And then the other part is skills, and of course the blog, which I don't know that you'll use too much this year, but you might. It's something you might experience. So what we're going to do is experience SeeSaw. So if you have logged into SeeSaw on your computer, you'll just need to go up to the top left corner where your name is, click that icon, click the little gear, and then choose Sign Out. Okay, so if you have signed in as a teacher, you just want to go up to your name, click the little gear icon, choose Sign Out. You should get back to a screen that says, I'm a teacher, or I'm a student, or I think I'm a parent is the other one. Choose I'm a student. Now, what we're going to do here is just for this training. Students are going to be using Clever. So if you recall, we used Clever really heavily starting in, well, we've used it for 2 years, but really heavily in March. So students will sign with Clever. They'll have those little badges they can scan, sign, log in, and they'll click the SeeSaw app and it'll log them in. So what we're doing now is just for training to get you in as a student, because you are in as a teacher. I can't put you in as both. So
An email, like when they sign in?
yeah, so they can use that email and
Like their new
their
incoming
password. Yeah, their new email, which it should stay, their email should stay the same. Their password's the only thing that may change. Kindergarten to first grade stays the same. I think they changed it second grade. It's an easy password. But they can still use that to log in, yes. But Clever will also redirect them there for easier login if they are going through Clever for other things. What you're going to do is choose, I'm a student right now. And then what you'll do is in the box that says text code that pops up, you're going to type in your code that's next to your name. So if you find your code.
Oh my goodness.
I know they're kind of small, or they're kind of small. Again, this is just for training. Students are not going to have to do this. I'm going to freeze this, and then let's open a new tab.
Oh my God, a whole long thing? It's going to be a short one. Oh. Okay.
Like maybe let's go in there. Let's turn it off.
I don't know. Letters? Christy, no.
Do you want me to read it to you?
O-E-O-A. Say it again.
O-E-O-A. A-C-T-J.
Hang on. Windows space?
Yeah, there's spaces in between each of
You
those.
did or you didn't?
I did.
I did not do spaces in the work. So
I did.
You have A-C-T-J? Q-A-Y-E. C-T-X-V.
Once everybody's logged in, just let me know, because I don't want to take this down until everyone's got what they need. For those that are on the live stream, if you are watching, you can pause your video. If you haven't gotten this done yet, you can pause it and then hit play, and it'll catch up to where we are. So.
Oh, where's the special education? They didn't tell us. They didn't tell us anything. We just heard. We saw it on Facebook.
That's right.
Is everybody in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you should see a screen similar to this. It's going to list it. Now, again, think of this. You're viewing this as a student. These are your activities. So as a teacher, I went in under the admin profile, which is the teacher profile, and I assigned activities to you. So your students are going to come in. Their activities are going to be listed right here when they first log in. If they've navigated around out of it, Jason, if you want to click on this journal here, there's not going to be anything in there because we haven't done anything yet. This is just a blank.
Sorry, I just got a text from Josh Rayburn. He needs this code. He can't see it because you were in front of it.
Oh, he should be able to rewind the video
Okay.
because at one point I wasn't in front of it. So
He said take a picture, but he said he's already gone.
I put it back up for the live stream in about 10 seconds. You'll take a picture.
okay.
Okay. Sorry.
So thank you. No, that's fine. So Josh, if you didn't hear that, if you're listening, pause, go back. You can rewind this live stream and pause the video at that code, and then you can move forward. Special shout out. All right. So your journal is where their old activities are going to be hosted. And then activities, of course, are things that are assigned to them. And then last is the inbox, which is where they can either read announcements you've made or can communicate with you. And we'll get into that in a little bit, because right now we're not seeing it, but I'll explain that. So go back to activities. What we're going to do is just try an activity. So what I'd like to do, I'm trying to think of one to start with first here. Scroll down for me, Jason.
Oh.
The picture is like covering.
Oh. That's, yes. You can move.
Ready, Christy?
Just take a picture and send it to me.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna shout it out.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
The picture-in-picture is covering it.
Oh, no, Josh.
Ay, ay, ay.
He's hiding it, yeah.
Block that color.
It's all you,
That's right.
Oliver.
So let's go up to the top. I think that one will probably work. So go ahead and on this where it says 3 SeeSaw ideas for my, well, no, because we're going to do that later. Sorry. Go down. Let's do this one. This one's a pretty easy one. So go ahead and Jason, unmute the computer audio, and then go ahead and play the instructions on that. It's my lovely voice. So. Nope, play the instructions.
To introduce who you are to the class, pick an animal that starts with the same letter as your first name. My name is Keegan, so my first letter is a K. Once I have picked my animal, record yourself like me saying, "Hi, my name is Keegan the kangaroo." After that, write your name under your face in the video, and then post.
Okay, so once the students have listened to the directions, they can then click this Add Response button, and they're going to get an option of what do you want to do. Now, Jason, go back for me real quick with the X. Okay, you'll notice here, this was me trying it out, and I did not do my directions very well. Okay, the reason why is because it does not tell you what buttons to click. If you go up to this next one up top, you'll notice it says add a response that says tap the add button. It's actually giving them images, and you can embed those images whenever you're creating activities. There's little images in there you can put right in. So I wanted to highlight, I left this one after I was going through more training. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of screwed that up. I thought, nope, I'm going to leave that because I want you to see that that is confusing to a student. They're going to be like, well, I hit add, but what do I do now? Okay, so I'm going to walk you through it so you know what to do. Go ahead and hit add response on that, the example new. What we're going to do is we're going to record a video first. Now, Jason is doing this on that computer, which does not have, actually it does, click allow. So I wonder if it'll use this camera.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I figured not.
not.
So the camera should pop up on your screen. Again, for those watching the live stream, it's not going to on my screen because we don't have a camera on our computer. So you can go ahead and click OK. Once you get that camera video, go ahead and record yourself saying, and just introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Keegan the kangaroo, or what, you know. I know it's silly and goofy, but we need that video so we can move on to the next step. So go ahead and pick an animal, record yourself.
Alligator? T-Rex.
I was gonna.
Pterodactyl.
Hi, I'm Sharon the tiger.
Oh.
Can I like preview it?
Yep.
Okay. How do I just click done?
Yes, once you've done recording,
And then I can just
you
preview
can
it.
hit play. Yeah.
So you're doing
Oh. You can try it again.
You click done. Oh. And then you click play. And then what do we have to do? After that.
So now, after you have recorded your video, on the left-hand side, you have little tools. And those tools are a text tool, a microphone, and a picture, and then more. And then at the very bottom, you've also got different pen characters there. Go ahead and select one of the pens, pencil, not the highlighter probably, but pen or pencil. Remember, you've got a touch screen, so take your finger or your pen, your stylus, and write your name underneath your face. So click on one of those pencils or the pen at the bottom. Use your finger or your stylus and write your name on your face.
on your face.
Or under your face, I'm sorry, not on your face.
Me?
How do you get under it?
Let me check it.
Are you scrolling?
Yeah, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
You have to click down. Oh, you're pretty, Christy.
No, I can see me chewing my gum in my hair.
My camera's
No, it's not cute.
Oh. Take a picture of this.
So Jason, go ahead for me and click the actual video there.
Emily, the email. Drawing? Well, that's better than Elton.
Hi, my name is Keegan the Kangaroo.
So you'll notice the finished product, once you have that, it has a video, like you can play it.
Hi, my name is Keegan the Kangaroo.
And then you've got the name when the video is paused. The name is underneath the bottom. That is a quick and easy example of just the beginning of a beginning activity to do with your students. There are lots of different activities in that library that I would suggest whenever you're getting a chance to explore. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, in the top, is there a green check mark in the top right corner?
Waiting for teacher approval.
Yep.
I didn't get to write my name. What was it? Because I think John. You hit John.
Pterodactyl starts with a P.
Okay. Yes, it does.
As soon as you started saying that, I'm thinking, I know what she's gonna tell me. Shut up, kid.
Have you ever had, no, there's like an alphabet book, it's like the worst alphabet book ever, and I have it, I went to like a literacy thing last summer, and that's what it is, it's like T, or E stands for pterodactyl.
Well, that was in my video. I didn't say
If you didn't notice, Keegan is here making videos,
You can do
showing
5-minute
everyone
video,
his
our kids are.
poor penmanship. Look at me in the background, hard at work.
Yeah, and then go ahead and play the video.
Oh. What, is there
What,
something?
hang on, play it? Huh?
Hi, my name is Keegan the Kangaroo.
Yeah. So I stopped recording earlier, but Creeper in the background was like turning around slowly, looking at the camera. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, so what I want to highlight this for is this is a prime way. Think about SeeSaw just like you're learning. Your students are going to need to learn it as well. Now they'll pick up on it pretty quick, but activities like that, even the first week, just simple things, getting to know you type activities, are easy ways to get them introduced to the tools in SeeSaw.
Who's going to
Yeah.
teach the parents how to do this with the kids at home?
Keegan, will we as teachers then see when they have done something? Like, will
Correct.
it pop up?
Yep.
Okay.
So once they've done something, as a teacher, we'll go into that in a minute.
Okay.
Once you guys have submitted a few videos, I'll show you what that's going to look like. For parents, we have some training videos.
I didn't do it with the kids.
Jen, you'd mentioned parents at home.
Yeah.
We have training videos. Unfortunately, we can't go to their house and train
Force
them,
to do it.
but we have training videos that we are going to share with parents to be able to learn how to use SeeSaw.
Can we welcome them in a situation like this?
I would ask your principal.
Okay.
Just because I don't know what the rules are. So, go back. I'm sorry. Go back to the presentation real quick for me. That top tab.
Oh.
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right. So the photo, I'm gonna skip over that for now because I'm trying to keep time. All right. Where? Yeah, drawing on photos. All right. So the other piece is the student journal. Go back to this top tab for me, Jason. And what students can also do is submit work without having an activity. So if you've done something in class, or you've asked them to do something at home, maybe you posted a video saying, at home you're going to find 10 rocks and, use them to do addition or something. I mean, something goofy, but you're telling them to do that. You don't have to assign an activity in order for them to be able to post it in their journal. Especially for really young students, it's probably easier for them to follow activities. However, depending on the age group and depending on their level of use, they can go into their journal and simply add something right into their journal. And all those same tools that we've used are going to be available. So I want you to go ahead now as a student, go to your journal, and what you're going to do is we're going to add just a photo. Yep. And
Guys,
again,
guys, be in my photo.
okay. So for your photo,
The selfie.
go back to the presentation real quick.
Let's
Sorry.
out over here a little bit. Sorry when we throw you under the bus, but we have to do this on top of teaching. Like, how do we do that? He's like, that's not.
I am training the technology, so.
Okay.
What did you say earlier? Talk to your building principal.
Yeah, speak with your building principal.
Dave's getting.
I mean, so here's the biggest thing, and I know it's going to be rough at first. Everyone's going to be learning. The biggest thing is anything you can do that's not duplicating the amount of work. Use SeeSaw in your classroom with your kids. Use it as much as you can because that same content you can push right out to the kids that are at home.
But it's only 5 minutes, right?
What's only 5
Like,
minutes?
you can only video yourself for 5 minutes.
In SeeSaw?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So as far as lessons and things like that, the tools we're going to teach tomorrow. So either if you watch the live stream or come tomorrow,
Yeah.
those are going to be more for you teaching longer lessons.
Like teaching
Recording, right? SeeSaw is really, I would say, activity based. So
Not necessarily SeeSaw tomorrow.
turning in, yeah, SeeSaw tomorrow is going to be using recording tools on your laptop, like the whiteboard and like an app called Screencast-O-Matic to be able to record a 20-minute lesson of you doing something in your classroom.
And then we upload it into SeeSaw, and then the parents still go through SeeSaw, or no?
You can upload it into SeeSaw, or you can upload it into Clever. Remember putting
okay.
links into Clever like you did last year?
Uh-huh.
Either or. You can upload links right into both of them. So that's
Sorry.
that's a good question. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. At first it's going to be a learning curve, but that's the biggest thing in your mentality is try to think of ways that you can overlap those same roles.
Uh-huh.
And that's why the suggestion is teaching the lesson and recording it. I know for some of you that may be really difficult because of the kids in the classroom. But if you can record it even ahead of time, a 10-minute lesson of you doing something on a whiteboard, show that in your classroom. It's also what's being pushed out to your students. So while your kids are watching it, you can be really the classroom monitor and step back, have them watch the lesson. It's going to take trial and error with your kids to see what's going to work best with them. So I don't have the perfect answer, but it is a good question. It's a valid question.
As attention to this conversation, I just want to remind you that this was a reality that was forced on us situationally, and it's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be exhausting. But you have an untapped, unlimited resources, and Keegan and myself. You have the full support of your employer to the best of your ability. We got to rise above this, and we're going to work together to do that. But I know at times you're going to stress out. And what Keegan and I are offering is just an untapped resource of we will be there, we will support you, we will meet with you before or after school, we'll help you with the technology. But we do have the support of our employer to just hang in there. Because at times it is exhaustive.
And the other thing, and this isn't to take down what you do as a teacher, because it's very important. That being said, what you're doing isn't life and death. That helped me a lot. When I'm panicky, I've had people tell me, you are not an EMT. Someone is not dying.
Right.
You do the best job you can do, and at the end of the day, you need to take time for you. Take time for you. I know, Emily, stop pointing at me.
Yourself. That's a good point.
But it just helps me kind of de-escalate myself because I start to panic, and how many times over the last 2 weeks I'm like, people are coming back in 2 weeks. I can't handle
It's
this.
awkward. He cries.
Oh,
There's hugging. It's just weird.
I have a little
running in the
little spot in the corner. I rock. And, no, but it's just a good reminder. I'm going to do the best I can do, but at the end of the day, life is going to go on, and as long as we're doing our best, kids are going to be okay. They'll be fine. So there might be some stress at times, but we'll get through it. That being said, take your camera. Now that this is going to be a little awkward because you're using a laptop camera, but what I want you to do is pick it up, and because you got the little photo icon, right? You're adding something to your journal. You're going to pick it up. If you need to come up a little bit closer, I want you to take a picture of this sentence. The best way to do it is you're going to come up to like I am. So I'm holding the laptop with me so that the camera is facing towards the thing, and I'm going to look at it, take a picture, of that sentence.
You can't turn your camera around.
But it's
Unfortunately, on the laptop, no, you cannot.
Okay, is Taryn in
It's
the
not like a
shot?
tablet where you can.
Are we gonna be on the video? That's what I was wondering.
No, I think that. Well, he might be a little bit, but then it will.
Taryn's in my.
No, I don't want to be in it.
Emily's not.
I'm not, okay.
No, can't zoom
What
in.
the heck?
You gotta do this, not like that.
Mine's not taking it. You can't, I was trying to zoom in.
I don't want to be in the picture, but it's not
I'm gonna take a picture of you.
gonna. Oh, sure.
Why? Why? Why?
We should be able to. I don't know why. No, we should be able to.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like you're touching it. You know what?
Yeah.
Because
It's really early on the school year.
it's not. Yeah. Your touchscreen portion it just disabled that. It's probably gonna be easier if you have it. So I just reboot real quick. You can catch up in a minute because we're gonna go. So as you can see, this sentence is not grammatically correct at all. But again, this is an example where it's just something simple. You could have a math problem. You could have a, 6 different pictures of different things that they did, like a tree and a picture of, okay, no one went on cruises, but things that they did this summer. 6 different pictures and tell them, what I want you to do is tell me something you did related to outside this summer. So as they're talking, they cross out the tree and then they move on to the next picture. Again, just something to get those tools used, or getting them used to using those tools. This is an example, again, a little bit higher mentality, but take your pen now, and what you're going to do is while you're making the corrections to the sentence, over on the left-hand side you see a microphone. If you click that microphone, it allows you to record your voice while you're drawing on the screen, or while you're making those corrections. So you can just say simple things like, first I know I need a capital, so I'm going to make the T a capital. I believe you can also crop the picture and make it a little bit bigger, but I have experimented with that, so I will come around and just see. Can I just see here real quick?
Sure.
What's that thing do?
That rotates it. So I just didn't know if we could. I mean, you can still just.
What is this?
Oh, there you go. So Taryn just found a tool that I didn't realize yet. Up in the top left corner, you see a little magnifying glass. So it's not going to actually make the entire image bigger. It's not going to crop it to make it larger, but it will zoom it in so you can edit things. And then once you're done recording, it zooms it back out to that full screen. But go ahead and try it. Click your microphone, start your recording, and then draw, make those corrections. I will tell you there are 6 things in the sentence that need to be corrected. You guys just be careful because there are some students that might say this year. This year. I had it. Recording your saying.
Take a picture of this sentence in May.
Oh yeah.
Corrections.
So then.
Go back and see click it. What if you click done before you're done?
You should be able to go back.
With a reverse arrow?
Found out that people have fabric chair backs. Remember, I feel like there was an email going on about like those things that Val has that they go over your chairs. Are we allowed to have those?
I just ordered some that
Are they fabric? Okay. Because when I, do you know what I'm talking about? The things that hang over your chair in the back and you can put
I
things
don't
in.
know if it's fine.
Did they say we could?
I don't know, I was asking if we could. Because they're fabric.
I think that we, I think that would be fine. Yeah.
So are they going to have to clean those I see.
All right, so if you're done, you go ahead and submit that.
Where's the TV?
I know.
I'm gonna come back to the back here because I'm gonna go.
So like I have some when I taught in Gracie, but they're denim. I made that. I thought that was supposed to be justice. You know what I mean? So like I would make more of them. Because then I would put like up on it for stuff. Little bugs. Little bows. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. I have them like last winter at Basic and it's like $3.
All right, so up on the screen here, what I did was log out as a student and log back in as the teacher. In this case, the Ithaca admin is the teacher of this group. And you can see it says 11 unapproved posts at the bottom. So you can preview those and see what those posts are for that journal. Those are the ones that we submitted and put in the activity as well as in the journal. Other thing is over here on the side, I can see all my students' names, and I can see how many items they've submitted. Can you scroll down, Jason? Oh, you know what? It's because we haven't previewed them. Go up to activities real quick.
It says I didn't put any.
I did check them.
All right, let's go back to the journal. I think this is something I did not test, so shame on me. Go to preview here. So now as we can see, all the student work is here. I'm thinking that once we've approved the items, then it will submit them into their journal. My guess is this is keeping those items from going in without you knowing. So if students are putting inappropriate things in there, you are able to first view them before you submit them.
So if it's not appropriate, you can delete it.
Correct.
Can other students view other students' journals?
No.
Okay. So they can only view their journal and then the activities that I post.
Correct. And then as well as the announcements.
So
that you
like,
put on announcements.
so like a kid's parents will only be able to view my
That.
activities and then their child's things, like not
Correct.
any other child's. Okay.
Correct. So did you approve all? Is that what you did? Okay. So now if we go back to the journal over here, now we should see items that are located on the right side under the students. Okay, you see that we've got Jay Whitford's got 2 items, McLaren's got 2 items. So now those are actually submitted to their journal, and things are in there. Now, SeeSaw does not have an ability to grade, so which is you guys don't put in letter grades. You just do like skills-based grading. Isn't that what it? Or I don't know what.
But like, can we give feedback?
But
via
you can
this?
give feedback, yes,
Okay.
on things. But that's just something to keep in mind. Your grading still is happening through PowerSchool. It's all going to happen in there, just like it has before.
Okay.
But yes, within a student's piece or student's work, you can like it, which I think is kind of silly, only because if you like some kids' work and then I don't know. But you can like it. You can comment on it here, and then over here, this, if you hover over Jason, this. Okay, click on that for me. Okay, this is where you're actually able to post notes for students that are only visible to teachers. So if you have a student that you're watching because you're concerned about some things, you can post notes here for record keeping, but not necessarily posting it to that student's journal.
So like only I would see it, like I could flag it, like oh.
Only you or a co-teacher, or in this case a Dave, like the principal, can see all the student stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, it would only be visible to teachers
Okay.
of that class or of that student. Go ahead and hit OK. And then hit exit out of that. We're not going to add a private note. Okay. Sorry, I can't. My glasses are wonky, so it's hard for me to see. The next item there, Jason, the little hat, the graduation hat. Click on that. That is allowing us to add skills to activities. Now you can do this to an activity, so you don't have to go mark each individual student's activity as a skill. But you can put in skills. So if you have a skill of counting by tens, okay, that's one of your skills. You can put those skills in on activities and flag them. So again, for your own purpose or for a record-keeping purpose, you can say, okay, for my counting 10 activities, I can go find that skill and find all the activities that are attached to that skill. So it's able to, for you to be able to track work that you have assigned or work that students have done to skills. The reason you can do it to individual student work is because if you do something like where they're just posting to the journal and you've done something in class, there's no activity for them to respond to. So then you can go and flag that student's activity flag that student's activity with a skill. Go ahead and exit out of that for me. Yeah, sorry, exit out of that. And then the last one is the little folder icon. And we'll get into this a little bit more, but there are folders that you can set up for work. So if you have a classroom now, folders, you got to think of structure here. Go ahead and hit the X here up top. Click on the Ithaca admin button at the top here. Okay, right now I only have one class, which is Self-Professional Development. Your classes are syncing through Clever, which is also through PowerSchool. So all of your classes are in there. So you're going to have, if you have a class that's called reading, you're going to have a reading class. If you have a class that's called science, you're going to have a science class. It's all pulling in from Clever. Within those classes, you can create folders. So the idea of a folder might be either topics, or not topics, excuse me, but skills. You could create folders by skills, or you could create folders of units. If you do a unit on a certain thing in your language arts curriculum, you can create a unit folder. Again, the reason you're organizing that is not necessarily for the student, but for your purpose. Because next time or next year, if you are using the same content, you are able to pull that content over and reuse it in the SeeSaw classroom for the following year. So that's why I said some of the work up front is going to be a little bit more work because you're going to be creating all this content. Once it's created, though, the instructions, the activities can all be used year after year after year.
But so, in theory, I could on a weekend record myself doing 3 or 4 reading lessons and then put those in a folder and they're ready to go.
Correct. Correct.
I know that our situation is a little different, so will my classes instead of being
It'll be what you see in PowerSchool.
So it would be like Whitford, Clarence, each class.
Is that how it shows up in PowerSchool? Whatever the class name, I didn't ask you, I don't know.
PowerSchool automatically generates the class names. We have to go and change it to know who's who. But it'll have
So because it just says first grade, first grade, first grade. That's what it will say. You should be able to edit the titles of those classes, but I'll check and make sure. Because I don't know if it's going to re-overwrite that every night.
Every time PowerSchool, every time a new student is added to a class, it overwrites. We have to go back and change the name again. So perhaps SeeSaw
Does the same thing. Okay, we can look into that and see. But yeah. So how it pulls in PowerSchool is going to pull those same naming schemes.
You're allowed to like work on
Jason, can we go and go back to the presentation, please? So I'm just going to go through really quick in the presentation. This is all going to be available in the Google Classroom on SeeSaw. So you'll have this to look at later. But just really quick, some examples of ways that you can use this in your classroom. Because our next activity we're going to do is you're going to share your ideas. How can I, 3 different ways you're going to use this in your class. So feel free to copy this. If we're doing something, you're like, oh, I want to do that. Because again, I'm just trying to get you exposed enough today so you start creating and thinking, okay, I could use it this way, I could use it this way. So again, posting student journal work. So if they're, creating something, you can see this kid it looks like they got paints or something that he's going to be painting a picture. They can take a picture and post that to their journal. It's an easy way to save that content so you don't need to keep papers in your classroom. They don't need to necessarily bring it if they're working from home. They don't need to bring the paper into you. They just take a picture and send it to you. Again, I know that's depending on device and internet connectivity. That's my job to worry about. But
you can take a moment here, just as a teacher, your former classroom teacher too. I think these simple activities. We asked how are we going to get the parents involved? How are we going to just have a simple activity of having them going out and make an activity in their journal of something that they learned in SeeSaw is a great way to get them in, get the parents with them using it, because then if you teach them how to share something that they like that they saw in SeeSaw, they're also engaging in, I have to log into SeeSaw, I have to click on the journal, I have to add I like that.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we do that. We take a picture of a student in your room and they're working at the Science Center or whatever. You want to put that in their journal. Then the parents can see that or they can't?
If it's in their student's journal, yes. So essentially the parents have access to all of their students' work.
Okay.
So if you put now, again, those teacher notes that we talked about, those are not visible to parents. So if you put a note in on a student, that's that teacher note icon, that is not going to be visible to a parent.
And I'll say this on the stream as well. The kids that we're discussing this about are kindergarten through 2nd grade. SeeSaw is an internet application. I'm assuming and hoping that the parent or parents are sitting right there next to their kindergarten through 2nd grader, interfacing. So I love your question. Will we see it in a journal? Yeah, because they're going to be helping the child log in to the child's account, and I think it's important.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We won't know till we know, right?
We won't know till we know.
Okay.
So again, this is a math activity, not something you'd probably be doing at the lower elementary, but just an idea of seeing even things that you're already using in your classroom, tiles, and showing the tiles, writing over top of them. Huh? Right, yeah. But even I think there's another one, or maybe that first one we watched where you couldn't hear the audio, but they were just using the little counting bricks, and saying, I've got 2 10s and 1 4, that's 24. So just things like that, where anything that they can take a picture of, video, or need to use a microphone to explain, they can do it in SeeSaw. Oops. Again, pictures, they've shown this, and we're not going to listen to all these because if you want to listen to them later, you can. Sight words, this was another thing I thought was cool. It's an activity that was in the SeeSaw library. But they took sight words, and sometimes you want to listen to the kid read them. Have them take a picture and use their finger and read the word and put a line through it. So I'm going to read there, put a line through it. About, put a line through it. You can hear them then reading, and okay, on Explain at school, you can go to the little comment and say, these are 2 words that you might want to practice. Again, this is going to be the parent looking at that, saying, we're going to practice school because they said shul, and, whatever it might be. But again, ways that you can get that feedback without necessarily either having to be there with them because they're at home, or having to have that time with every child in your classroom. Give them 5 iPads and show them the activity. Have them go to separate areas of the room while you're doing something else with the other students. So there's ways to integrate that within your classroom as well. We already did that activity. Drawing tools, we kind of went through some of this, but we didn't use the text tool. I'm not going to worry about that. Again, this is something you can explore. But we saw that video where they were moving around. It looked like typed words they were moving around. It's where you can add those labels to things or to pictures or videos. drawing and recording the audio, taking pictures. Shapes, this was another thing. Adding shapes, you saw in some of them, there was one up top here. That's the arrow, but if I go back to, I can get there, we go. Okay, in this they used that, but then I believe at one point you had an arrow. Do you remember the arrow dragging around the screen? I thought maybe it would be on there. Okay, but that would be an example of using a shape. They can use different shapes in their SeeSaw activities, as well as adding backgrounds. So for kind of like Zoom, you know how you can create a background in Zoom so it's not showing. They can do that in SeeSaw as well. I don't know that you would want to use it a lot, but it's up to you. Annotating and then obviously captioning with text or voice is there as well. So again, just showing ways that they can, even if they're just using the whiteboard essentially, to write out ideas. I'm not going to, again, these videos are all going to be, if you want to come back and watch these for ideas, the links are all in here, but I don't want to take up our time watching all those videos today. Sight word stations. Having them take a picture of sight word stations and reading those sight word stations. Or you can see here what they did was, it looks like they did an activity in the classroom on their desk where they put the sight words in order, took a picture, explained it, and uploaded it to their journal. So this definitely is going to lend itself to students being a little bit more individual or independent at times. And there are times where we know even kindergartners can be independent with a task, right? They still need to be watched. You can't just let them go. But you can have them working at a station or something, of course with distancing, but have them doing something like this activity where they're putting sight words or whatever, whatever words I guess you'd use in kindergarten. Are they nonsense words? You guys still do those?
Yeah.
Okay. Red words. Thank you. I know some of the things, but it's been I haven't gotten down in that area in a while. So, but anyway, using activities that they're doing in classroom, posting that to their journal. Again, just more examples of ways that they can use SeeSaw. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this last activity here, and we're going to be pretty close to being done. I'm going to go through a few things with the family and how we get families joined on, and then the information we're going to be sending out to families. But while I'm doing that, while I'm getting that stuff ready, we're going to do this activity. And in your student account, you're going to see an activity that says 3 SeeSaw ideas for my class, PD Activity 3. The examples show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you be a student now. Again, obviously kindergarten, you're going to have to go through it because they can't read, even first grade. But if your rules are easy enough for them to read, then put the onus on them. Have them try it as they get used to it. Have them try an activity on their own as they learn to read directions and follow directions. So go ahead and find that activity, the 3 SeeSaw ideas for my class, and go ahead and hit your add response button and follow the directions there. Everybody finding it okay?
Yeah, and we just have the recorders.
Yep. Go back to it so that the directions are up there as well. Oops.
So I'm excited to add support to my lessons in the classroom where students can be involved with talking through the learning process and also bring forward to parents knowing firsthand their students' learning process and seeing what their strengths are and weaknesses. And then lastly, I'm looking forward to using this as like a virtual teaching tool if we do go to the
So, Yeah, we do. So basically what I did is I did a background and then I typed and then I just did my voice over it. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's what I'm pretty sure. You can't just be like you first. That's why I don't. That's why
And then text box and you can create your different colors and then when I had it, I just added.
You know those three things right there? That fast?
Yeah, they just take them. And then when I got all done, then I voice recorded and I just I suckled my orange thing because I'm staring to type it.
I love you.
Thanks. I love you too.
And then how do you activate those stars?
So you go to the three dots, right? Shapes. And then you can move, like, click off of it. That would be cute.
You did that to me quite
What?
Okay, I'm gonna assume the fetal position on Linda, you do it.
Well, I guess I didn't do the three ideas. I just did three things I'm excited for.
It's okay. The students experiencing it.
Okay.
And you share it with me. So you do done, right? And then
Did you record yourself?
Yeah.
And then you click done. And then you can listen to it. And then you can upload it. Check it. The green check will upload it. I hate listening to myself talk.
I do too.
Like my voicemail, I hate it.
Oh, I do not like my voice. Not okay. Not okay.
If you're not finished, go ahead and just finish whatever you're working on and submit it. And then we'll go ahead and move on to the last few things here.
No. Oh, you can do mine. I know it's fun stuff, and it's fun, but I still can't get past how I'm gonna get it done. I can't. I like all the fun stuff, but I just don't know when this is gonna happen.
While you're doing
Red camera, red Don't say his name.
I bet you could do this whole group and just kind of show them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could totally do this whole group, or you could have them one-on-one assessments. You know, have them come back and do this with you while they're doing the whole group and doing something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would take me probably a week to get through everyone, but.
Okay, so it is now.
Oh, how'd you get it today?
I don't know. I went.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
So, when I am posting elementary where the tunnel, you go down, first grade one. Where's the line?
That would be based on the
bottom.
I'll probably use those at home.
So,
Not in there.
so yeah, you would do it, very fine. You would do it in classes, and then you will look at that, should be able to.
That's the one, or if I could just have my classes.
Because when I used this at Alma, before COVID and everything, they would do this at centers.
So if I.
Like, here's my math center, like, I took a picture, they would circle, like, all the squares, and then I submit it, and like, that was their, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So now I'm gonna.
But obviously, we can't.
Put it up here. If I click.
So I feel like I'll probably use this more when COVID is not a thing.
Oh, yes, I see what
You know
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying, like,
Yes,
can I make it?
yes, that's a good question. We're going to, that's the next step. We're gonna go over the grade activities. And I'll show you that. I know what you're saying. Sorry, give me a minute.
Sorry.
Nope, you're okay. All right, go ahead and submit any work you haven't submitted. What I want you to do is go up to, if I can, I'll go back, way back here. You're gonna log out as a student, and you're gonna log in as a teacher. So, you're gonna go up to your top left corner where the your name is. Click on the little gear icon and choose sign out. You should get back to the screen that says I'm a teacher, I'm a student, or I'm a parent, I believe, or family, I don't know what it says.
Family member.
Family member. Okay, when you're there, go ahead and click on the I'm a teacher, and you can use your Google account to log in. So when you click on I'm a teacher,
Teacher sign in with Google.
yep, teacher sign with Google and use your school email account. You can also do this through Clever. If you log into your Clever account, click SeeSaw, it will log you in.
Verification.
Works both ways.
Mine said that it sent me like a.
Yeah, mine said that too.
And you can tell me that.
I know that.
So I said, look at it.
Yeah.
This is my school email.
Right.
Just use the. Yes. I got nothing.
Okay. Okay, so apparently that feature is not working. You know what? I tried that with a student. I was testing with my nephew yesterday. I'm wondering if I didn't test it.
Oh, I got it. It just
Now
came through.
Did it come through?
Yeah.
Want to go back and sign in again?
Go to SeeSaw, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Again.
Sign in, yeah.
Yeah, once you verify your email, you should. I mean,
So
that
I'm at the
shouldn't be
screen that
happening,
says
but
Restore archive classes
Yeah.
to new class, right? Well, that's what I'm on too, but I don't know what that means.
just a second.
So I'll probably just go.
So I have heard that we have more kids coming to school than we do going to It's like 85-15.
And it's because we're in the new
So we'll
school
know by
year.
like the 14th.
I didn't think about that, which is okay. We don't need it. We don't need it for right now. Let's do one more in creators. We can still create activities and reuse them later. So
We get paid double.
once you get logged in, I didn't anticipate this either. See, technology's great. You don't see, it says restore archive class or create new class
Yeah.
because we rolled over Power School, which is what syncs with Clever, which is what pushes your classes out. Your classes aren't enrolled in Power School yet, so because we're waiting to find out virtual and not virtual and all that stuff. So you don't have any classes. So you will get those once Sherry has the information, is able to put your classes in. For now, go ahead and click Create a New Class. Just call it Demo Class. That will at least allow us to get to where we need to go.
And I can choose my grade.
Yeah, you can choose your grade. You can hit Other for us, Jason. And then once you're done with the name and the other, you can hit the green check mark. Yeah, but they're not going to have Google Classroom. Unless they want to, I guess they can. But
Mine did that too.
that's really 312 is going to be.
So if I'm doing a split class, do I have to create 2 different?
No, so this is just to get for our purposes today. Your classes will be pushed out through PowerSchool, but they're not in PowerSchool yet. If you log into PowerSchool, you won't see anything. So that's why it's not there yet. So no, your classes will show up once they get rolled
This is
over to
just our
PowerSchool.
demo class.
So yeah, we're just creating a demo because what we're going to do is go into the activities. So you can actually create activities, and once you've created them, they're in your library. So once your classes get pushed out, those activities will be there, so you could actually go ahead at home or whenever you want to start making some activities. You can do that because now you have a class to do it in, but those activities stay in your library, which is not connected to this class. We just needed to create one because I forgot when we did the rollover, it archived all of the old classes, which were last year's classes. So what we want to do is go into the Add button here,
Excuse me.
and then go into Assign Activity. So you're going to hit Add and hit Assign Activity. Now in the activity you can see, or it says My Library. You probably don't have a lot in there or anything at all.
I have one. How do you know what I've been doing this whole platform tonight?
Oh.
But that was no, I mean, it did help me, but I still can't figure out how to. Go on.
Then you have your School and District tab, which right now there's nothing in there. But again, this is a place where you can save those activities you're going to share with other staff.
Community and my library.
Probably because Clever is still not because of the PowerSchool thing. And that really threw a wrench. It's okay. Yeah, you don't need that for today, but hey, that threw a wrench in my
would I be
thought
able to
process
see
there.
like other
Yeah,
first
so
grade
again, it's
activities?
the mindset of you have your library, then you have your school and district, so think of it like you could set up grade level specific things. You can
Right.
see, but it just.
Like I could see what Amy's doing in STEAM for her
Right.
activities.
And then the community would be to pull from other districts.
Okay.
Ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
If she shares them.
If she
So just because you make an activity does not mean it's available for everybody.
Oh, okay.
It's once you make it, you can share it out to your school or the community.
Like Amy does our science curriculum. So if she makes an activity like for science and shares it.
She could share it to
Then that's where I
the
would see
school
it.
and district, and then it would be
Right.
available.
If she shares it to the school district, then is it automatically on ours, or then we have to put it on ours for parents?
You'll have to put it into your class.
But
You
we'll
have to
just be in
assign.
the
You're the
class.
one that's assigning activities. So
I'll be assigning them to the students, right? I don't have to.
right, she'll have her own, just like STEAM. She'll have her own STEAM classes, and
So
so
if somebody shared something with us, it would automatically go to our students, we have to.
correct. So if someone shares something to the school and district, this is just a library of stuff. You're still not. You don't have all those activities in your classroom
We
until
can
you
just look
post.
at them and see if we want.
Correct.
Okay.
What we're going to do is go over to the community section. In the community section, it's probably going to be your best friend to start out because there's tons of activities in here, especially get to know you type activities, first week type activities. You can go into the community and you can choose by grade, you can choose by subject, and you can also search if there's something specific you're thinking, I want to look for,
STEAM.
maybe it's related to a book or something like that. These activities are pre-made so that you can, once you click on an activity, Jason, why don't you go down to popular this week, click on the What I Like About Mel book there. Once I found this activity, I can, if I really like it, I can do a heart, that'll put it in my library favorites. The other thing is I can, right from here, I can assign it to my students or to my class. Okay, so then if I assign it, then it's going to go out just like you saw assignments that came into you as a student, same thing, but it's going to be your assignment. It's not going to post student work out online. It's not. You're simply taking this template, copying it into your classroom.
And Jennifer, to answer you, that's exactly, like, well, how, if Amy provides a little extra STEAM activities, is it too cumbersome? No, you would just go to her folder, that would be under the school district, and you would like it to add it to your future activities used, or just boom, assign it right there. Yep.
The other question we were talking about is anything that we put out for the online students, does it have to be something we use for the kids at school? Or vice versa?
No.
Or vice versa?
It has to be comparable. It has to be
Okay, so
comparable.
they don't have to do the exact same.
No.
Or it has to cover the content. 'Cause
Yeah, cover the content. Absolutely. I might even want two different activities. Try one with the classroom and the one with online to see which activity is better. I mean, see the response.
I mean, like,
Good
you
question.
can even do this with your kids and just, like, I mean, find the book online and then just have them share with a partner what they like about themselves. And then, like, the kids at home don't have a partner, so they just do this activity. Like, you just might have to modify it.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think maybe you're gonna get to this, but I think you can go in and edit, like if you save that
Yes.
to your library, you can edit it and change it. All
Correct.
your boys, you could put your,
It's kind of like, this is like a really advanced way of like a good Google document lesson plan share, where essentially you save a copy to your Google Drive, you open it and make it whatever you want. This is like that, but it's like, really cool.
yeah, it is.
So once you're in this activity, let me go here really quick. I can't, he's clicking for me, so I want to make sure I'm telling him to click in the right spot. Down, so you have a few options. First is in this bottom corner of the activity, right-hand corner, there's the 3 dots. That just says share activity. However, if I go up and heart it, making it one of my activities, click OK now. Now go down to this 3 dots. Oh, that did not work. It worked.
Oh, copy and edit activity.
Yeah, okay. You should get that. I don't know why his is not.
Wait, where did they
That is weird. You should be getting copy and edit, activity, remove from my library, share activity, or add to collections.
There you go. Just refresh.
Okay. No, it's not your fault. Mine just did it automatically without refreshing. So now this is where you can go and find those. If you heart them, you make them your own. Then you can copy and edit it like Christy was saying. The other thing you can do, so pretend for a moment you've copied it, changed it, or maybe you don't, you just like it the way it is. Jump up here to assign, Jason. When you click assign, it's going to show you, now again, at this point you don't have any classes, but it will show you all of your classes here.
Demo class. They've got demo classes.
Well, right, you have your demo class. But for instance, like what Amy was asking is if I'm making a first grade STEAM activity, but Power School is going to give her 3 first grade classrooms, she can just check all 3 of those first grade classrooms and assign this activity to those 3. Same with you, if you have any that you're going to assign to multiple classes, you can do that. I know that might, for the homeroom teachers, you might not have that, but you simply pick that. You can also pick which students to assign activities to. So if you need to individualize some instruction, you can edit the students and choose which students are going to get that activity within that class. The last one is down at the bottom. And we talked about this, being able to go out now and do this. Now, this part you can't do until your classes are populated. You can go ahead and do the activities and get them in your library, but assigning them, you can't assign them to a class that's not there yet. So once your Power School or once our classes get populated and you have all your classes in SeeSaw, then you can go in and assign activities and schedule when they're going to become available. because you don't want to put in a week's worth of activities and overwhelm the student. You might schedule an activity to show up every day or every other day. So you can schedule the date and the time when those activities are going to show up in that student's feet.
This goes a big loop back to what Christy was saying, is I think that the strength of SeeSaw is the collaborative nature of it. And when we're all in this together, Christy, I would suggest like a grade level sit down, plan out a system of activities, and then plan them out for next week, and just everybody work together to launch them on the same days. Work together on learning this, because I think that's the strength.
Let's say we do that, that all sounds perfect. And the first week of school gets here and we get started, and then you only have like, let's say there's 3 kids on your class list that are online.
Yeah.
So every time I need to go in and just put those 3.
No, so that's another thing. I'll explain that.
Okay.
So because of the odd nature of how this year's starting,
Yeah.
and because of state reporting, the way that we have to do classes, my understanding last I heard from the RESD, is we have to have 2 classes. So every class that there's virtual students and live students, they cannot be in the same class. Because the state wants to know, did they take the class virtually or did they take the class in
So
person?
we'll have 2 classes.
So you will have 2, let's
that
say,
actually might be easier.
so yes, so
Yeah.
so you might have a reading and then another reading. One is going to be those virtual
Like reading
students.
live, reading virtual.
Correct.
Okay.
So you will have those 2 classes that you can then post. You won't have to edit students every
That's good
time.
to know.
But
Yeah.
that will automatically do that for us, we don't have to.
Correct, yeah, so this is all dependent on PowerSchool. So
Okay.
once, and again, this, I'm not putting onus on Sherry, I'm just saying, she's the one that enters classes, but she can't do that until we know who's doing
Right.
virtual and who's doing.
Right.
So this Friday, I believe, when the final date is cutoff is, they're gonna get all that information. Any ones that didn't respond, they're gonna call, I think, starting Monday. So as soon as she has that information, she can start putting classes in. So,
What if somebody changes their mind?
you might want to ask your principal on that. I don't know the answer
So
to
they
that.
commit for the trimester.
Yeah.
Like the
Yes.
forms.
There's a question.
Yep,
The question is, so I went out, I'm going to go ahead and close all this.
sure.
So the question is, I went out to the community, I found this wonderful website, I have favorited it, and remember, if you, okay. If you favorited it, you then get this option, the additional options at the bottom. So the question is, I can assign it to my classroom, but I want to favorite it, and I actually want to take it from the community, and I want to put it in that school and district, so that I want to provide it for all of my staff.
Colleagues,
How would I do that?
to be able to put it into there. I
Yeah,
believe first you would add to collection.
so I'm going to add it to my collection.
Yeah. And then you have to create collections, think of them like folders. So go ahead and, I don't know, call it getting to know you, or I don't know. Call it something. Now once you've done that, if you go to my library, it should show up in my library.
Yeah.
What I was wanting to do, so I made.
Now once it is in here, then I believe you can share activity.
Share activity.
You know what? Maybe you can do that on the other
Just
screen.
share this.
But you can share it. Now you may not have that option yet.
Okay, that's what I needed.
You may not have that option yet because of the sync not happening, but you will eventually
Okay,
get that option.
that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a good question.
That's the whole point of the SeeSaw. Find, each of us are individually working to find things that are in the global community.
Yeah.
Bring
And there
them
will
back
be
and how to share them.
things. There will be things that as you're going through, you're like, I don't know how to do this. First, I'm going to suggest, just because the nature is more, Google it. Just see if you can find it on Google. If you can't, throw a tech ticket in, and we'll try to figure it out. So that's what we do.
Sounds like you need to go to Christy.
Yes, Christy is your
She's got it down.
the leader of the building, the SeeSaw
We'll
guru.
let your building level administrator know.
Can you find me hanging in my
So, no, it's easy now. But I do like that. I do like the idea that, Google it for yourself, bounce the idea off a colleague, but honestly, do not hesitate to fire up a ticket
Right,
or
no,
fire up a,
No. And the reason I say Google it is they're like, when we were going through, a lot of the videos in the Google Classroom we shared are not my videos. There are tons of videos out there on how to do things.
Can you show us
in
quickly, like, how to edit one of these?
How to edit and change one?
To our voice,
Yeah,
like for the
I'll go back
instructions.
to
I'm not sure. So, because that was exactly what I was thinking. I bring everything back when I look at the organizational, when I look through the organizational tools, I always try to come back to the idea of folders, of file.
Yeah.
So if I go into the school and district, I want to see like a first grade, kindergarten. Yeah, so I don't know, we might have to be on administrative end, we might have to set up some things within the school and district. Like when I go to there to look for an activity, I don't want to look at hundreds, I want to be like all the first grade, all the.
Right. I believe once you're in there, you'll be able to sort by grade, just like you can in the community. So it'll be able to sort by subject, by grade, and by, which you'll only have South Elementary School, because it's only half South, but you'll be able to sort that information by grade and by subject.
So we'll just, as teachers, when we find activities, we'll have to really engage in the discipline of, we might find something that's a second grade activity, but we want to use it in first grade.
So
Well, you share it and edit, or you save and edit it.
Yeah,
And
so
then
that's
change
actually
it.
what I'm going to show here.
Gotcha.
So once you find something,
So like this book was in first grade.
Premiums,
You could change it.
SeeSaw Premium.
once you find an activity
Oh,
you
mine's
like
letting me edit it.
from the community,
Yeah,
you
certain activities you're gonna have to
added your heart, or added it to your
try
favorite.
3 for 60 days.
You are then able to go down and click copy and edit activity.
Both of the activities I just clicked
Once
on,
you've
I
done
did.
that, this brings you into the editor, which is where whenever you're creating activities, so you can rename it here, you can give it new instructions, and you can also delete and record your own voice.
So you delete it and then you can
Correct.
re-record.
You delete it, and then you add your own voice
Oh.
instructions over
So
again.
we set it for a different grade level.
So I believe the tags for what they are is whenever you're sharing it. So before I get there, I'll finish this. You can create a new example as well. So like I did with my Keegan the Kangaroo, you can create a new example to share in with there by just deleting it and then adding instructions yourself, which is essentially doing exactly what those directions tell you to do. Changing templates, anything that's in there, if you just get rid of it, and then it gives you the option to re-add it. And again, the more options, this is where it gives you those teacher notes. So if you are wanting to add your own instructions, for it, as well as those skills, if you want to add a skill to an activity. The other piece, what Jen was asking about, is sharing activities, but to different grade levels. So if I am going to share an activity with my school and district library, once I click share, that's where I'm going to be able to then identify what grade level and what subject I think it's for. So in this case, it's already marked K in first because that's what the original activity was. If I say, you know what, that was not easy for K, I want to take that off. Or I think that'd be great for the whole school. I'm going to mark that, I can change all that, and then once I share that activity, let me get rid of the, oops.
Look at school and district as a choice once I click that.
Once I share that activity, then it should be available in our school and district activities. And there it is. And it shows right here, first grade, second K, second and pre-K. So does that help answer your question?
Yeah.
I think exactly, exactly.
So a few of them are telling us that you can't edit unless you have the new feature, the premium SeeSaw feature.
Yes, you'll have those.
Okay.
It's all in our subscription.
Nothing but the best for you.
Yeah. So when I was
So
talking
you
about,
say
I played
try
around with
free or
students.
no?
Huh?
Do I say try free for 60 days or no? Wait.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I'll work on that this afternoon.
Okay.
You should. I'm wondering if I just did it for students, but I enabled a feature the other day. I was playing with it to allow students to log into Google. I think what it did was created you guys a new account. I think if you went into Clever right now, you would have all that access.
Okay.
I just need to marry those two
Okay.
so that you can either log in with Google or Clever. So for right now, what I showed today, what I would suggest is go to Clever, go to your Clever account, click the SeeSaw app, it'll log you into your actual teacher account. It did pull some of the stuff in, like Amy's, whenever you had archive or restore archived classes, it showed all the classes that it synced, because we set up the SeeSaw sync before we did the rollover. So all of your classes last year were starting to sync with SeeSaw. So it's pulling, it's like it's connecting your data, but it's not for some reason connecting your account to our SeeSaw. So I got to fiddle with it, but that's a good question. It should, we have the SeeSaw for enterprise or whatever, so you should have access to a lot more activity.
But again, I think that's one of those great directive questions, is like Keegan's doing a lot of like the wizard behind the curtain, making all the technology work, but there is a flood of settings and organizational tools that what we do on our end is going to be guided by your instruction. So as you find things that you need or not working, like your excellent question about the grouping or organization, we want to create all of our tutorials and trainings and communications are directed to what you need. I mean, we'll throw in some bells and whistles along the way that we think is cool, but the most part is we need this to work for you.
Okay, so Mike, sorry, go ahead.
My other question is, like in the spring, how we have emails and letters that came from you explaining to parents how to log into Clever. Are we going to have something that explains
We'll have,
SeeSaw?
yeah, we'll have similar stuff for SeeSaw that will go out
So
to
that we don't
everybody.
have to invent our
The only thing that you will probably have to send out per class, and I'll look and see if there's a way for us to pull that and send it out, but that's this next part, and it's just how the families get connected to you. The directions and stuff, we can send all of that out.
And the point of that is we don't want, one, you have too much to do, but two, the communications that are going out to the community are all the same K2, so that the families are talking to each other and sharing the same information. I think that's important.
So if I go into Clever right now, which I did, how do I get to SeeSaw? You have to add it.
You shouldn't have to add it.
You should have it. I had to scroll down. Mine's at the bottom.
Yes. Well, maybe I really screwed it up. And it's just,
No, I just didn't know if I was missing.
No, it's. You should
You have to go in through.
One person. Holy cow! How you doing over there? It look a little chilly. It's cold in here, isn't it? It's cold.
I'm not cold. I'm sweating.
I'll play around with that. That's a good question. I'll make a note.
Wait, if we go to Clever, then not for here.
That it's not showing up in Clever, which maybe is why it's not working correctly.
School. It's under other staff.
What was it, free rollover? I wonder if the
And then you
rollover,
just log in with Google.
does the sync change? I bet I think there's going to be a little bit. That's probably what it
Would it
is.
be under, where would it be under?
I mean, exactly.
It's under the, yeah, the more, probably the more apps at the very
That's what it
bottom.
was. Yep, it's very bottom. Christy, I think he's right. I think it was, we did the Clever rollover, and I remember seeing it in there, but it was pre-rollover. So I remember seeing SeeSaw because of the little icon, that icon up in the middle there. That's the icon you'll see. It was there, but then we did the rollover, and it's gone. It'll be under more.
The very bottom.
All the way at the very bottom is where mine. So I apologize for that. I mean, I do remember it being there though.
Yeah.
So we'll push it back up.
Just shouldn't have done the rollover. That's what it. Lesson learned. No, I'm
You
kidding.
say that
I'm
every
kidding.
year. Every year. We should have done the rollover.
So I've got my page on here from the spring. That's gonna be just my students from last year, is that?
Are you talking about Clever?
Yeah.
Yeah, so your pages will still be there in Clever. You can reuse content from that, but Clever itself is, again, synced with PowerSchool. So once those students are enrolled in your classes, they'll start populating in your Clever. So you can.
So I'll have a separate thing on here for pages, like this is my old class that we.
Correct. You can either reshare that page with your new class, or you can create a new page for your new student. Or you actually, it will create a new page for
So
you.
we're doing Clever and SeeSaw, like we need a Clever thing and.
So Clever, think of Clever as really a data warehouse or a hosting. Yeah.
I see, but so I was just thinking I was just going to be doing SeeSaw stuff, but do I also need to have my page?
It's up to you. So,
Well, if you put SeeSaw on there.
Ask your building principal.
yeah, ask your building principal.
I'd like
So,
to,
think of it this way. SeeSaw is going to be very much like activity driven. Clever is much more for links and directing students to locations. You can do that in SeeSaw through activities, but if I'm going to have a site that I'm going to have a student go to over and over and over again, it's going to get buried in SeeSaw because it's going to be in the midst of a bunch of activities. Clever, you can create that link. It's always going to be there on the same page.
And then they're like automatically logged in, aren't they? To all the-
Correct.
Well,
Clever is really the login hub. They log into Clever and then they can get to anything.
yeah, and I think that's important, is that we, more for the students than for you, it's, Clever is an SSO, it's a single sign-on, and we need the students, because everything's associated to their account, really going through Clever. And so if all they use Clever for, Amy, is to go to Clever and click on SeeSaw, awesome. But I like what Keegan said. I like SeeSaw for like unrelated links. Maybe there's a website
Clever.
That's Clever. I like Clever if there's a website for great Michigan State parks to travel to. It has nothing to do with SeeSaw, but I think it's great. I'll put that in Clever just as an additional link so that it doesn't get buried in SeeSaw. So I guess Clever complements access to SeeSaw, but most importantly, we need our students logging in through that and develop that mindset. For
Clever, yes, is really the point of entry. They're all going to go through Clever, and then from there they can jump.
The problems I've had with my students in technology is when they try to access Reading Eggs by not going through Clever, the typing club with the older kids not going through Clever, it's not the same. You are in a student account that we created for you for SeeSaw. It is not you. It's not the same things you will see when you log in to SeeSaw through using the Clever icon. So, yeah, but no, you don't have to use Clever. I think Clever just is a way to get people where you want.
So I'm just going to kick these last ones out real quick, and then we'll be done. If you have more questions, we can answer those. But I want to, that way I've shot my time way over here. So last part is the families. So families are using a different app. Again, this information is sent out to them, but they're using what's called the SeeSaw Family app. They will see their students' work as well as announcements that you send to families once you have approved that student's work. So if a student inputs work, the parent is not going to see it until you've approved it for their journal. Okay, notifications are sent via the app or via email. They're going to go to the SeeSaw Family app or the website in order to log into that. And they can leave comments or audio or text comments. And then teachers can also approve those comments. Again, that's only for their student. They are not seeing other students' work. So if they do leave a comment, nice work, Johnny. Johnny isn't going to see that on his SeeSaw account until you've approved it. Because, again, inappropriate content. You're the filter for that information. So when we were showing earlier, when we hit the Approve All button, if you have that many things, I would highly suggest not hitting it. Only because we did it today because I know it's you guys doing it. So you could have put something inappropriate there and I just approved it. But you're the only one seeing it right now. That, for students, you're really going to want to just, scanning through really quick to make sure it's appropriate content. Fortunately, if something does sneak through there, it's only that family. So it's the student's parents that are going to hear that comment and say, what did you just say, Johnny? Or vice versa. Or maybe the parent saying something to the student. And the student will see that family member's feedback again after you approve that. Yes?
So in the class settings, there's a little tab where students can see each other's work, and you can turn it on or off.
Correct. You can turn it on, but yeah, I suggest we turn it off. I believe, is it by default set on?
Yes.
I think that when we've got the sync going, anyway, when I was playing around with it in July, for your last classes, I think I set the setting to not share by default because the biggest concern is for violations. But if for some reason I can't get that set when we do this resync, I will let you know via email to go in and turn that off. It's off right now, and you will enable that, or I think I can enable that at the main level. But again, that's all that sync stuff that I had set up that apparently stopped syncing once we rolled over. So you can add families individually if you want to do that. If you have a family that hasn't added via the information in the students section, you can see all your students. You can click to add families. It pops up with a box. Go ahead and switch over for me, Jason. Actually, I'm sorry. Before you switch over, I just want you to show you this. Families see only their own child's work. Text is translated in 55 languages. So if you do have non-English speaking, okay, you can connect your own families and if families connected last year, which they haven't, but this is important to know. For following years, they will automatically be connected over from year to year. They should be tied to that student. So as the students move, the families move with that student. Now go ahead and go back to that. So go back to class, and then go up. This is just Jason. You guys don't need to do this. Go up to classes. Let's go to the South Professional Development. Now, whenever I hit the Add Families button, go ahead and do that for me in the bottom here. It's going to show me all the students, and then I can put in emails or phone numbers to invite families if I'm doing it individually. We are going to, again, we can invite families and send out printable invites, or we can share an invite link out to our families. Now, when we do that, what they're probably going to see is they're going to see a student, and they can click to add it, and then you're going to approve to connect that student to that family. They can't just go in and add any student they want to add. With this print invites, this is the part I was talking about, Jen. You guys might have to send that if I can't pull that data to send it out. The directions, how to do it, I can send all that stuff out. But this might be based on just on classes because it's going to pull class codes for those students.
Do they have to do that for their regular classroom and the special classes, or is it just a one-time deal?
I will look. That's a good question. My thought is once that parent is tied to that student, it's going to be tied to that student for everything. Okay. So I'll check into that. That's a good question. Go ahead and go back, hit that little X there for me. So if I go over here to the inbox, what I did was I've added myself here just as a parent to the account I was using, which was Heather Dawes. And I just added myself. So you can see right now, if you go in, you're not going to see any. You're just going to see student announcements and family announcements because you don't have any family or families connected yet in there. But in here, in the student announcements, you can send a student announcement out to all of your students. You can also hit the little add button up here, which is kind of your main button, and you can click a send announcement there. Go ahead and click that. And then from there, you can choose to send it to all your students, all your family members, or both. The other piece, and then you can see, you can type your message, add attachment, and send it out. The other piece is, if you exit out, you can individually contact family members. If once they're in, you click on that family member's name, you can have a message or a conversation with that family member just in here. Okay? Same type of setup, or you can just do a simple text to reply. The other thing is with students, same thing. If you go back to your journal, which is where you're going to see that class list, you can click on a student, and from there, go ahead and click, oh, you did click, sorry. Then hit the add button at the top, send announcement. Now you should be able, you should be able to send announcements to individual students. I wonder if I'm doing that wrong. I might be doing it backwards. Okay, gotta add that to my note too. It's another thing that's different. You should be able to send announcements to individual or groups of students, like you can assign activities to individuals or groups of students. Same thing, but I wonder if that's another thing that messed up with the rollover. So I'm going to make these notes real quick just so I can make sure I check them. Individual. But that's really, like I said, I wanted to show you the basic of being able to connect families and send announcements to those families, so you can use this as a communication platform with them. That being said, that is kind of the basic overview of what SeeSaw can do. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to probably cut the stream. But if you want to stay, if you have some questions and you just want Jason or I to kind of come and walk through some with you, feel free. If not,